Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Travel Mug podcast. Today, we are so excited to be joined by Kathy McCabe. She is the host of PBS's Dream of Italy and the editor in chief of Dream of Italy magazine. Kathy is one of America's leading voices on Italian culture and travel. And we're so excited to chat with her today about why Italy is poised to be one of the hottest destinations of 2026, but like any year, really. uh,
Yes.
welcome to the show, Kathy.
Thank you so much. And just to add to my resume, I also host a PBS show called Dream of Europe. For
Yes.
those who want to go further afield, I know we're going to talk more about Italy, but I was just looking, we're just dropping the episodes on YouTube. They have been appearing on PBS. So I was working on that today. So I was like, oh yeah, I have another show too.
Oh, just another show to throw
It
in
only took
there.
a couple years off my life, that one.
Well, we want to start things off. So, not quite at the beginning of your journey in terms of the TV show, but we would love to hear about going back a bit further about that trip you took to Italy after college with your mother. As I feel reading about you, this has so much to do with where you are in life now. So, why did you travel to Italy at that point in your life? And how did that trip lead to such a deep love of the country?
I might cry. It's the pivotal probably experience of my life. So when I was growing up, my grandparents were my daycare and their parents, so my great grandparents were from Italy. And so there were always these nuggets of sort of Italian culture in my grandparents' home and the food and the garden. And they knew some Italian and would speak Italian to each other when they didn't want me to know what they were talking about. And I was really close to them. I mean, like almost more close to them than my parents, although I was very close to my parents. I was just an only child. And so when I was in high school, as this project, I wrote a biography of my grandfather and explored the town that his father was from. And it was a town that my grandfather had tried to visit in the 60s when he was on a cruise. He got off in Naples. He asked to be taken to this town called Castelvetre. He didn't know there were two. He was taken to the wrong one. He couldn't get, because the one was over a mountain and he couldn't get to it and then back to this ship. And it was one of the deepest regrets of his life that he never saw this town, and he would talk about it here and there. So I was graduating from college. And the funniest thing is I did European studies with like a concentration in France and French. But I was super interested in Italy, and my mom, and it's so funny, I'll mention my mom, they've both passed away now, but my mother and father were happily married. He would stay home with the dog and we would go. He came a couple of times. So she wanted to take me to Italy for my college graduation. And we said, oh my God, if we go to Italy, we have to go to this town. And we showed up in this town, two blondes. And we're blonde because actually our family were Norman invaders in southern Italy, something a lot of people don't know. A lot of people do know, but then others are surprised. And, we discovered the town, and my mother said it was like Brigadoon, that the town only comes alive, once every 100 years. And it really had been about 100 years since my great grandfather had left. And then, because truth is stranger than fiction, the next day in the United States, my grandfather died.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. So we fulfilled his dream. And even when I named this business Dream of Italy, I didn't put it all together that like it was his dream that was passed on to me, but the name is probably the best thing I've ever done. So then I worked in journalism, I worked in TV news, and I would just go to Italy on my vacations all the time, often with my mom. And the reason I would go with my mom is my mom was retired, so it was literally easy for her to go. And she was happy to pay for some of it too.
Amazing.
And then it became a thing if I didn't take her, so that's sort of, and then I started this publication 23 years ago.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you started your career in like network news field. So how did Dream of Italy magazine and membership website come about in 2002? And then how did that then lead to the series Dream of Italy?
So I worked in TV news. One of my first jobs was I worked for Peter Jennings, which if you're older, you would know who he was.
Yeah.
You guys probably might not know who he was, but he was a really famous anchor. And the one thing with working at ABC, and then I worked in the investigative unit, the one thing with that job is you could never come back and not have the answer. You could never say no. My eyes hurt. I've had freelancers say my eyes hurt today, like all this stuff, right? That job, no was never possible. You went and got or did what you needed to do. So it was such a fundamental job for me for the future. But I worked in TV, then I moved to USA Today and I worked in their politics section, then in their travel section. And I was going to Italy, and one of our contributors that I edited, his name is Rudy Maxa. He had a print newsletter, and I decided, oh my gosh, I want to do an Italy print newsletter. His was general, and he said you should really do a niche kind of thing. And so I started Dream of Italy, like not really. I mean, I was in my 20s, but I'm very tenacious. I'm like the terriers that I love. And that's how that started.
Awesome. And so then how did that lead into the TV series? How did that come about?
So I was doing this magazine. Well, it was a print newsletter and digital, and it was always both. So I was way ahead of my time. And I still think I'm like weirdly not ahead or behind. I still do print because people like getting in the mail and they renew far more often. And so why not? There's still some things that are sacred. And every time I think I'm not going to keep doing print, I do. So, I mean, I was like 10 years, 12 years in. I don't know how many years in. And this director approached me about turning it into a PBS series. And that's how it came about. But the whole time, even now, most of my job, although I love the content and I love Italy and I love being on camera, I don't love doing social media on camera, but I do love doing the TV show. That's because I have a makeup artist who makes me look really good. When it's every day, I'm like, but I do like a lot. Most of my job is the business part of it all.
Right.
Sort of
right.
running it, raising the money. PBS is funded by corporate sponsors and foundations. And so it's very interesting and unusual, this sort of hybrid role that I have.
Yeah, and I think going back to all of that, because Dream of Italy is more than even what we've already just discussed. It offers many services like travel planning, plus a blog, a TV show, including a second one called Dream of Europe, which you mentioned, which is new as of 2025, from what I understand. A podcast of the same name, apparel, the magazine. Kathy, I'm tired. It's a lot.
Today I was like, what are you going to cut from the list?
So when you built this venture, which began, of course, for you back in 2002, which started, like you mentioned, with the newsletter, and maybe you hadn't thought of it, but what did you hoped it would be? And how have you actually built it to all of these things of what it is today with all of the different offerings, which is a lot?
It wasn't like I started it thinking I would have a TV show,
Sure.
which is weird because I was in TV and I'd done, when I worked in London, I did voiceover. So I had done like a little on-air stuff, but I was mostly behind the scenes. I just did it. That's me. And that's, my advice to a lot of people. I mean, I don't know, just do it. Like I just sort of did it. I didn't have this. I wish I had, because now the founders, and I'm a founder, but a founder is like such a word. They have this exit plan. The exit plan. They have like, we're going to turn it into this or turn it into that. And I just wanted to help people make their Italian dream come true. And for a long time that was travel, but now it's also moving to Italy, buying a house, extended stays. We do a lot of content on all these topics.
Yeah, I think that happens to a lot of business owners, that it starts as one thing and it just starts to like snowball in this weird way that you don't expect. And then all of a sudden you're hosting a TV show and you're like, how did I get here?
It's a happy trap, but it's a trap.
Yeah. That's fair.
Because the thing is, it's like, I'm not married for 23 years. It is the biggest commitment. I mean, it was like monthly, 10 times a year, 6 times a year. Now we do like big quarterly issues. Like I have never missed an issue through all of life's trials and tribulations. It's like having a child. It's a big commitment.
Well, Vogue says having a boyfriend is embarrassing.
I
So so you're doing just fine with your business, I think. So
I have to read the article. I've seen the headlines. It's so fascinating though this last year. It's really this moment, and I would like to be married, and so it's not that. But I do think of my ancestors. I do think of my great grandmother, my grandmother, who was there every day of my childhood, who desperately wanted to go to college in the 20s. It was
Right.
very smart, and her father wouldn't let her go. And we are one of the first generations to have choices.
Yeah.
And I didn't, I thought I was going to have a more traditional life. I just sort of didn't work out that way. It wasn't so much of a huge choice, but I've tried to embrace it. That I got very emotional with this old friend of mine. I was like, I am my grandmother's dream.
Yeah.
Not only to I have a master's degree, the education she had wanted, but to be able to travel, to make so many decisions for myself. It's a gift. So you have to sort of look at whatever situation you're in, what the positives are of it. And so I really try to make the most of it.
And she did what she had to do so you could do what you're doing. So you are the
Yeah.
product of everyone before you for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. My grandmother always, when I was younger, told me, like, make sure you have your own money, like, get an education. And of course, when you're like 15, you don't realize like why she's telling you this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really important.
But I will say something for my grandfather, the one who really inspired this dream. He was born in 1902. He was my daycare. I had an amazing, amazing father. That grandfather of mine, every day of my childhood said, you're going to go to Princeton. Said, you're going to go and do this. Which was extraordinary for a man of his generation. He never
Right.
saw me as a girl or a boy and I was the only grandchild they really saw. And they had all granddaughters. And I always do look back at him is just as much a sort of part of the equation because he would push me, and he only had an 8th grade education.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they loved to travel. They spent all their money, they saved, and in their retirement, they traveled around the world.
Oh, that's so awesome. Let's switch gears to Italy. Of course, that's why we are here. So,
Yes.
what tips would you share with folks that are planning their first trip to Italy? I have not been there yet, and it is on our short list for 2026. So,
Well, first you have to book now. I just
Yes.
did a little Instagram reel about that because everybody's going and everyone thinks that no one else is going in the month that they're going. So I've been hearing, it's like, I've been hearing October is really booked up. I mean, October. So everyone thinks like, oh, don't go to Italy in August. This is like the last 20 years. So all Americans go in September and they think no one else is going. And that is that's high season. In many places, it's higher season than July. So the biggest tip is you have to book now or really start, get those, if you're going to use points, if you're going to get air tickets, just book something because it's really booking up. The biggest challenge, I think, when people are planning a trip, especially a first one, is they're trying to do too much. I always say do not do less than 3 days somewhere. Everyone wants to go to Rome, Florence, Venice. They want to go to the Amalfi Coast. The Amalfi Coast, I love it. It's overrun.
Yeah, I've heard that.
A nightmare. I feel like, am I supposed to say this because it's Dream of Italy? It's a nightmare sometimes. It's like
It is what it is,
like
Kathy.
Positano and you want the Instagram photo. No. But if you're gonna do it like October or May. But there's all these places and they're not super close. And I think you have to really decide what your goals are. Maybe it's 2 of those 3 big cities. Maybe it's you really want that countryside experience. So you want to do Tuscany with Florence. My whole TV show and magazine are all about all 20 regions. There's 20 regions. There's amazing places to go. Torino, where the Olympics were 20 years ago. It has some of the best food in Italy. It has the best Egyptian museum outside of Egypt. The wine, the chocolate, the Shroud of Turin. So there's smaller cities that you can consider. So I think it's the planning, booking, giving yourself enough time, because also crazy, amazing things happen in Italy. I mean, they just happened to me on this trip. If you leave time, like if you're just sitting in the piazza, you just never know what's going to happen and who you're going to meet, or what vineyard you might come across, or where you're going to go shopping. So that's important. I think tour guides, if you can afford them, and there's a lot of affordable options for group tours. Like, you don't want to go to the Vatican without the context of it. You don't want to go to the Roman Forum or Colosseum. Also, you don't want to assume you can get tickets to all these. It's getting harder and harder. It's not like you can show up. Like 20 years ago, you could just show up and go, and you can't anymore. You really have to plan ahead. And then I always say do a cooking class, at least one. I mean, the history of Italy is told through food, and the food is different every 3 miles. And so you learn a lot of the history of that particular region or city through the food. You get to meet a local. I could go on and on.
Yeah. I think those are all really great tips. And I think that Megan and I talk a lot about not over planning trips. And I think it would be very easy to do in Italy because there is so much to do and to see and to eat. So I think it's good advice to focus on like one area or a couple of different cities instead of like trying to see
All the
4 or 5.
things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we've already referenced this. Italy set to host the Winter Olympics in 2026. How do you expect this will affect tourism in the broader scope of 2026, especially Northern Italy? And how can visitors prepare to have like an amazing, like authentic Italian experience, but during this busy time? Do you have any tips about that?
Oh my gosh. I am obsessed with the Olympics. I went 20 years ago. It was one of the greatest events of my life. So I'm going back. So I'm going in
Awesome.
February. And I just got back from Italy a few days ago, and I went to Milano, Cortina, the two main town cities that are hosting. It's the most spread out, or geographically spread out, Olympics in history. It's 8,500 square miles of northern Italy. So you're going to see like 4 regions and provinces of Italy on TV. The Dolomites, I wish I could say, it's funny. I was talking to another friend, and I was kind of saying, they're not visited. Like, they're starting to get more and more visited. And for instance, I was in Cortina, which was they had the 1956 Olympics, beautiful, beautiful town. But Aman Hotels and Mandarin Oriental in the next few years are coming in. And I almost want to say go now before, once these big brands come in. But there's so much history, like World War One there, the German, Austrian influences, sometimes up in parts of that area, especially Bolzano. It doesn't feel like it's Italy. It feels like you're like, wait a second. And like when it was like time to check out when I went, this is a different trip. And it was like 11:59 and they're knocking on the door because it's like 12. I'm like, this is so non-Italian. They were like very precise. So I think it will inspire a lot of people to plan a trip, either the winter or the summer. These places are beautiful in the summer,
Sure.
but there is enough for everyone. It's a huge area. Milan is kind of undergoing. Everyone acts like, oh, that's the city you don't really, it's not, it's sort of the fourth in line when people want to visit, but it's a really cool international city, fashion, design, so much going on, architecture, great museums. Then the closing ceremonies are in a beautiful city called Verona, and they're going to be in the largest open air amphitheater in the world. And many years ago, on one of those trips with my mom, they have a very famous opera series where you're sitting outside under the stars. And I was told, because I asked the tour guide, everyone holds a candle. This would never happen in the United States, but you're like totally by candlelight watching the opera. So I think that I'm hoping it will give travelers some new choices besides Florence, Venice, Rome.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So we have friends that live in Torino, so that that's why it's on our short list
You
for
gotta go. It's a
2026.
great,
Yeah.
great city.
Yeah.
It's a really great city.
Yeah, yeah, we really wanna get there and visit.
Good. That's good.
Yeah. We'll book it eventually, I'm
You know
sure.
what
We're
you should
just
do is if you go out to Piemonte, which is like the best wine, and I mean Tuscany, don't get mad at me saying that, but I did something for the show 10 years, many years ago, and then I did it 10 years ago was truffle hunting with dogs.
How
I've done it a
fun.
few times. I love dogs, like probably more than Italy. Like it's up there. And
Wow.
so the truffle hunting with the dogs is just off the rails.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. Uh, so is there any other reason why people should make Italy a destination in 2026? Is there any other exciting things going on there that you know of?
I mean, there's always each year there are tons of special events or anniversaries. There's always an Italian capital of culture, and this year in 2026 it's L'Aquila, which is in Abruzzo. Abruzzo is a region in central Italy. My ancestors are not from there, yet I have done 2 episodes on Abruzzo. Somehow I really love it. And the second episode I did, it was Americans moving to Abruzzo, which I've gotten emails. I'm responsible for multiple people buying their homes in Abruzzo. And that's a beautiful, beautiful there's Gran Sasso National Park, and I live when I'm in the US in Colorado, and I'm about to say that Gran Sasso is even more beautiful than Colorado.
That'll be our little
So there's
secret.
really, really some beauty there in Abruzzo. And it's a region where you can be in a town and you're 20 minutes from the sea and 20 minutes from the mountains.
Mm.
You can, the one couple that bought the house they bought like a newer house, which is amazing. They could see the sea from their mountain, their mountain perch in this house. And, you have access to so much.
Mm. Sounds terrible, really.
No. I'm
It's a
sitting here
shame.
feeling sorry for myself. I'm like, oh.
Well,
They're
there's
like, I was there like 5 days ago. Like, it's okay. It's okay.
You're fine, Kathy. You're fine. So there's no doubt, obviously, that Italy is a popular tourist destination. What do you think are some of the hidden gems of Italy? So places that most tourists don't venture to, such as spa towns or spots that invite even maybe like a bit of slow travel, so people can actually just slow down
How
and
did you
enjoy
know? I love
themselves.
this. I love the spa towns. I don't know. So one of my favorite, I always talk about it though, but one of my favorite places on earth is Saturnia, which is in the western part of Tuscany along the coast. It's in the Maremma. And Saturnia has healing hot springs that I think I've tried a lot of hot springs and I think they are the most healing. I've been going for about 25 years and I've gone a few times when I've had some health issues and just sat myself in that water and it's amazing. So Italy definitely has this culture. It's very volcanic and geothermal. So there's hot springs everywhere. They're not necessarily unknown, but I also went to the hot springs in Bagno Vignoni, which is in the Val d'Orcia, which I think it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But it's that part of Tuscany that you see on postcards, that you see in movies, that you see in commercials. Then they allow like no building of anything new. It's the Tuscany that you imagine. Also, this in Saturnia, when I've driven there, like from Florence or Rome, on those roads, I'm like, this is like an Audi commercial or a Mercedes commercial or so definitely at the thermal hot springs, there's also this whole culture of, doctors actually write prescriptions for Italians. There's a number of hot springs like in the north, Murano, in the south and Campania. So that's an interesting angle to take. It's been many years ago, but I went to a region called the Marques in the central northern. And I hate to even say this, but it's where everyone's going to start buying houses in the next couple of years. It's like Tuscany was 25 years ago.
Okay.
And you walk around and you don't really see any Americans and these little towns. I mean, you do occasionally. It's still really affordable, but absolutely beautiful, stunning. And then part of La Marque is on the sea. There's just, and this is just one region. I love the South. My family's from Campania, Irpinia, that area, which is known for wines, green, verdant mountains. I interviewed Francis Ford Coppola. He has a hotel in Basilicata, which is also in the south. Puglia faces Greece. People are discovering it, but it's just another place. Sicily is going to be the hottest place in the next. I went to this conference and the guy on stage, he's like a billionaire travel investor. He said, Sicily is it for the next 10 years.
Hmm.
And I think he's right. It's more affordable. Like many parts of Italy, everyone invaded. So there's all layers of culture and history. So Sicily, like its own, we haven't even done it on a TV show yet because I'm like, oh my God, it needs like 3 episodes. It needs its own thing. Sardinia. Again, I'm glad I went 20 years ago. There's now going to be a nonstop from New York to Sardinia.
Oh, wow.
And Sardinia looks like Arizona on the Mediterranean. It's very dry. It's like very cactus, rocks, dry, and then the beautiful turquoise sea. So there's a lot. There was a statistic. I have to check. It's either 70% of people go to 1% of Italy or 90% go to like 4% of Italy. And it is getting pretty, when I was in Rome, when I was in Florence, I think I really see it in Florence. It's changed. It's pretty it's just a small city.
Yeah. There's so many places like that in the world now.
But I say go in January. I say go. I
Right.
love the
Agreed.
winter. Oh, I love the winter in Italy. And there's almost no off season now. I mean, you can get great airfares. It's not going to be 105 degrees.
Yeah.
And that heat can be a real thing in the summer. And it's even a travel trend. I don't know, in your research and your interviews, people are looking for cooler destinations.
Yeah.
So like the Dolomites in the summer because it's in the mountains. That's an idea.
Yeah, definitely. The Dolomites would 100% be on my list if I go to Italy. That's my plan, sort of.
They're
down
more
the
beautiful.
road.
I'm not saying Colorado's not beautiful, but those are like these jagged.
Yes.
It's like thousands of more years. It's like, it's very emotional.
Yeah, my husband and I were in Innsbruck a few years ago, and we snuck into northern Italy for lunch. And it was
As one should.
as one should. It was his idea. I will give him all the credit. And it was, we still don't know if it was the best lasagna we had in our life because we were in Italy or if it just was like, really good lasagna. But I'm going to go with the fact that we were in Italy. So of course it was. But
Yes.
I only had lunch in Italy, Kathy, but I'll get there.
That's okay. You have to start somewhere.
You do.
The very, very, very first time, I don't talk about it as the first time, but the true first time I was backpacking with this friend of mine before I did an internship in Paris for the summer. And we were in Nice and we took the train over to Italy for like 4 hours for the evening. We went to Santa Margherita Ligure in the 90s. And I thought I was in an Italian movie. It was just everything. It was everything. It was that really that just, and then the next summer is when I went back with my mom to this town. And so you do have to start somewhere.
You do.
Are there any spots in Italy that you haven't visited yet that are still on your list?
I mean, there are just, I haven't done much of Friuli, which is up towards Slovenia, and that area, they all kind of swapped. I've been to Trieste, which is the capital, but they all it changed hands a lot up there. I've been to Calabria, but I love the South. I haven't done a lot of Calabria. So if we talked about sort of my wish for the TV show, I want to go back. I've done a lot of Sardinia. I'd like to do Sardinia, Calabria. I've been to every region, but honestly, you could spend a lifetime in each region.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So if our listeners are intrigued, you've talked about inspiring people to buy a house in Italy. So do you have any advice for people who may want to also buy a house in Italy?
Let's see. I have not done it, but that's because I can't decide. I can't, I would just have 5 of them or something. I don't know. My friend, I filmed an episode with Frances Mays, who wrote Under the Tuscan Sun, and she's become a dear friend of mine. And of course, her whole story is about renovating, and she loves renovating, but I don't know if it's for everybody.
house.
So, yeah. So I would be cautious with that. There's also these €1 houses, which were amazing. And we filmed a
Yeah.
town that does this in a brood cell. But your €1 house is really going to cost about 40 or 50,000. But it's an amazing opportunity to put your mark on it. So I caution people with the renovation because I think you really need to be there to supervise as you would anywhere.
Mhm.
And I think there's sort of a gold rush right now. This year, a lot of people are buying houses or renovating. Prices are going up. You can still get amazing deals. You can still get an apartment or a house for $30,000 or $40,000 in many
Wow.
places. You have to think about what it's like in the winter
Mhm.
because if you buy one of these stone houses, it's cold, it's
Sure.
damp. It also is going to cost. Electricity is really expensive. It's going to cost a lot to heat it. There's a lot of laws, like people want to make, their house an Airbnb, but you have to think about taxes. I mean, I'm just sharing some of the things to think about, but why not? I mean, especially if you can buy something and if it's 30 or 40,000, you're not going to, if it goes astray, it's not going to bankrupt you forever. It can be really exciting, but you really want to try to become part of the town, part of the culture, speak the language, really try to integrate. And I always recommend using a licensed real estate agent. There's a lot and some of them are very good. There's property finders. Some of them are very good. Some of them are, there's a lot of if someone's bought one house, they're now an expert on buying houses in Italy.
Right.
So I really caution. I wrote a companion book to the PBS special I did about moving to Italy, and we wrote 80 pages on how to move and real estate and cost of living and things like that. But that still even changes every year. So I think you have to do your homework. I think I would not buy a place unless I'd really spend time in that town. And, you can go for 90 days without needing a visa. The best thing to do is go rent a place for a month
Yeah.
or two and see if you really like it, because places are different in the different seasons.
Right.
That's a really good point. That just because you like it in one season, you might not look living
But,
there.
I'm also I take risks. I do crazy things. So, buying it, good for you.
Yeah.
You have to live, there's a balance. There's
Yeah.
a balance of the dream and being realistic. And also, there's not this huge, although now I feel like there's a lot of movement, but Italians don't move a lot. There's not a huge resale market.
Right.
So if you're committing, you're committed for a while. You may be committed for a while. So you have to think
Right.
about
Mm.
things. And then if you
Yeah.
want to live there more than 90 out of every 180 days, you're going to need a visa or citizenship, and you're going to be paying extremely high taxes to live in Italy,
Right.
which I'm probably going to do because I think the trade-off is worth it.
it.
But most people are shocked how
Yeah.
high they are. So many people I know spend half the year. They go back, they do 90 days in, 90 days out, 90 days
Yeah,
out.
the old Schengen zone. That's true.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. That's all really good advice. And I think a lot of food for thought. And I think it's even like places here in Nova Scotia that are amazing in the summer, but I wouldn't want to go there in the winter. So I think those kinds of things, no matter where it is in the world, that you really do
Yeah.
consider.
Yeah, I think you have to sort of balance it out, but then you have to remember, you only live, well, I think you live more than once, but that's a whole other story. I believe in reincarnation. So
We'll
every
have you
time I
back,
say that,
Kathy.
well, I could talk about that for hours. But I always say oh, you live, when I say, oh, you only live once, I'm like,
Yeah.
but this time around,
Yes.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to do.
Yeah. I do want to say, as the owner of an old house, my house is Canada old, not Italy old, but I think it still
Can you
counts.
imagine Italy old, though?
No, and as someone who's 5 years into renovations of an old house, it is not for everyone, and it is tough to live through, to be
And you
completely
don't want
honest.
to do it necessarily. If you're trying to go to Italy to enjoy Italy and every day you're working on the house,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to really think about it because it's more romanticized and it's
Mhm.
A
hard
lot
to
of
get
things are.
workers. A lot of them want to be paid in cash. People are people and they're going to rip you off. Some of them are great. Some of them aren't. That's just life
Yeah.
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
that's really a good point. I want to talk because, of course, we have a travel podcast because we love to travel and we like to talk about our experiences, whether they're our own or talk with guests like yourself. But we really feel like it can impact a person on so many levels when you get out into the world and you experience different food and cultures and challenges. For you, why do you feel travel changes people, or what impact do you feel it can have on a person?
Oh my God. I did a whole special, which people can find on YouTube. It's called Dream of Italy, Travel, Transform, and Thrive. And I always say, like, let Italy change you, let Italy transform you, let Italy heal. I really believe Italy is very healing. I think there's something particular. I think travel is just seeing. I went to Japan for the first time this year. So it was like, I've been to Italy like 70 times and I needed to do something.
Something different.
And Japan is really different.
Yes.
And so I think it just takes you out of your comfort zone and it makes you think. And, they're so calm and respectful. And I was like, maybe I need something calmer in my life. I don't know. And I loved being on the sea. I did a cruise and I just loved it. It just reinforced for me. I should say I went with Japan Net America. They do an amazing job. And we weren't really here to talk about Japan, but they do cruises. And it's all locally Japanese run, but you're on a Viking ship. So it's
Okay.
like, and we went to towns that foreigners don't really go to, like 10 stops on this cruise. But it made me think it gave me sort of this totally new experience because I've been always going to Italy. And I think it activates certain parts of the brain that we forget about in our everyday lives, whether it's beauty or food or community, and to see how other people live and to sort of decide, okay, I want to live more like that or not more like that. But I think Italy particularly is sort of a mirror, or really, my friend Frances May says women in particular go to Italy on a quest often. And I've noticed Italy has saved me many times in my life. That when horrible things have happened in my life, and I sort of went to Italy, or went to Italy to celebrate other things. It's I don't know. It's actually hard to describe.
Yeah, I think I've had those experiences too, where it just feels like fulfilling and like there's not really a word for it. Like you said, it's like magic in a way
Well, I
that
will
you
say,
can't
I
really
was
describe.
joking about
Definitely.
past lives, but I honestly think sometimes you arrive in a place and you feel like you've been there before. And I don't know
Mhm.
if that's a past life or it just sort of triggers something. I know people who are obsessed with Italy who've never been to Italy, I wrote about this. I also do a Substack called Kathy McCabe Dreams, more on like dreams and personal things. And I wrote about how there are people you feel called to certain places in the world, and sometimes I think it's really related to our souls.
Mhm.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I love that too. Yeah. So, what can we expect next from you? What are you working on right now that you can share with us? You don't know.
No, I mean I'm working on more TV.
Yeah.
That's always a process. I have been working on this memoir for years. That's really the story of going back to my ancestral hometown. And all these things happened because of it. There's this Madonna in the town that my great grandfather had a miracle. My mother had a miracle. I really have wanted to write this super personal story of what Italy means to me. And I've been working on it, and I have to make it sort of a much more of a priority because it's really important to me. And I
Mhm.
think more content on how travel in Italy can transform our lives.
Mhm. Amazing. Awesome. So, where can our listeners find you online so they can see everything that you're up to?
I think almost everything is Dream of Italy. You can see all the episodes of the show on YouTube at Dream of Italy. It's still on PBS, still airing. The first season, 10 and a half years later, is still airing.
Oh,
And
wow.
all the seasons and all the specials. So like Instagram, TikTok, Dream of Italy. If you're interested in Dream of Europe, that's like Dream of Europe TV on Instagram. Also, I think on YouTube. And for that series, we went to London, Lake Alcy in France, which was, I studied French there when I was 18. Malta, 2 episodes in Greece. And did I say London? London.
Yeah.
Yeah. London, Malta, France. Oh, Albania. I forget where we even went. Albania was incredible.
Oh,
Next thought place to go. Go now because in 5 years it's going to be like Croatia.
Of course.
yeah. Time is now. Yeah.
Definitely.
This guy I met who helped me with my luggage in the Chicago airport because I stopped over. He's Bulgarian. And I was like, yeah, I heard that's like the next place. Like right now, like Albania is almost
Yeah.
it's not passe, but I'm saying like I was just hearing about that. So everyone's looking for the new
It place.
place.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kathy. In the show notes, you'll find links to Kathy's website and more information on her show and where you can find her online. For us, you can find us on our website, travelmugpodcast.com, or Facebook or Instagram at Travel Mug Podcast. You can support the show through buying us a coffee, leaving us a review, or sharing the show with a travel-loving pal. And until next time, we'll chat with you soon. And thanks again, Kathy.
Thank you. It was fun.